quality management purposes, all of our calls are being recorded.
Good, record this.
With one of our poison specialists, please remain on the line.
Yes, sir.
En français, veuillez appuyer sur le 9. Veuillez noter que si aucun de nos spécialistes francophones en toxicologie n'est disponible, nous aurons recours au service de l'interprète.
Record this. I talked to these people many times.
All our specialists are busy at this time. Please remain on the line to speak with the first available specialist in poison information. If your call is urgent or you require immediate assistance, hang up and dial 911 or your local emergency number.
This could take a while. Yes, this is Gary Thompson calling. I'm looking at your website for the opioid overdose response. Yeah, well, it's changed. It's now following the orders of the Ministry of Health, Ontario. The protocol that used to be up there was call 911, start chest compressions, give naloxone, and continue chest compressions. Well, the executive director at Health Canada, Heidi Jackson, got canned in January for blowing the whistle. Health Canada is handing out wallet cards to all Canadian citizens, all the signs of a respiratory emergency, no mention of rescue breathing. In September, Health Canada up on their website had the proper protocols. So what's happening is I've got a letter from Heidi Jackson back in October telling about the different provinces. A lot of them are teaching chest compressions only, some of them CPR only, some of them rescue breaths only. So what's been happening, this has all started in Toronto in 2011. I was the 20th person to take the training. I was taught to give chest compressions only. Yeah, right. And so your morgues are filling up with non-drug overdoses, and then there's so many more left with permanent neurologic impairment, oxygen deprivation. Well, it's not okay, man, because I watch all these doctors. I go to conferences with MDs. I'm published in the resuscitation guidelines, emergency medicine news, because I'm having to pull parents off their children, giving them chest compressions, non-cardiac arrest patients. Sure, it's costing the taxpayer a fortune. And there's going to be $1 billion class action suit one day. And I've talked to Margaret Thompson, the director.
Oh, you talked to her?
Yeah, years ago.
She's our director.
Yeah, I know. I've got emails from her and stuff, and I've talked to her. Emails from her that make no sense whatsoever. Gary Thompson, and I'll give you my phone number. GaryThompson. 647 864 6609. I talked to Christine Elliott, the Minister of Health, one of her staff. His name's Paul. About it. His family used to own a first aid and CPR company, training company. And I got him on tape admitting, he says that that's wrong. What they're teaching is wrong. Because the child knows it's wrong. right? The person's alive. You can obviously tell the person's alive and needs air, cyanotic, labored breathing, and withhold oxygen. I don't know.
Okay, well, so you talked to my director.
Yeah, I've got emails from her. I've been trying to stop it since 2011. You know, I got emails from everyone. You know, there's when you go to the news, go online and look up stories about overdose. 95% of the time it'll say chest compressions. I was at a conference with the ministers in Peterborough in July the 11th. And when you walk into the sign-in table at the conference, there was a huge 6-foot by 3-foot poster, chest compressions, right at the sign-in table. And then at the literature table, the same thing. The inspector of the police department there, I handed out literature, the proper instructions. And just before the conference ends, they were going to have a soiree so we could meet and talk to everyone, right? The inspector of the police department in Peterborough says, Gary, get in a cruiser. I'm driving you out of town. Didn't want me talking to the people in person. And every police officer has their first aid and knows it's wrong.
Yeah, well, I guess what I mean, the only thing I can do is relay this that you call.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to David Renwick, the general manager of Adapt Pharma, the manufacturers of the intranasal naloxone. He says, yeah, I know. My hands are tied. It's Dr. David Williams, the medical officer of health for the province. And I've talked to David Williams in person. He's like a stone cold killer, not a bat of the eye, not one drop of emotion. He's a doctor.
What is your background?
No, I've always had my first aid in CPR. Right? I've always had it. I've had it advanced because I used to work for the Lands and Forest when it was called the Lands and Forest, 500 miles from anywhere, and you had to have advanced first aid. And it's just plain common sense, more than anything. Person's hypoxic. Children know it's wrong. Like I talk to Boy Scouts and Girl Guides and show it to them. Ooh, that's wrong. You know, it's creating a dysfunctional society. And because every nurse, it's their sacred duty. What's her name? Doris Grinspun, the CEO of the Registered Nurses Association, at the legislature for the second reading of Bill 105, which is a private member's bill by Natalie Kusendova. She's an MPP from Mississauga. She's an RN. She's trying to get mandatory training of police officers to use naloxone. And Doris mentioned over and over Brad Chapman's jury inquest, coroner's jury, which the jury's verdict was do not deny rescue breathing from anyone. And also, my brother-in-law was at the media room for the second reading of Bill 105, emergency physician, said over and over it's rescue breathing. And even when you open up the monograph that's inside the box, no mention of rescue breathing. I know. You teach millions of people to do that, they do that. Withhold oxygen and bound on a beating heart. Because if naloxone doesn't always work. It might be a polydrug overdose. It might be an overdose mimic. Yeah. And look, there's like 50,000 poisonings in the province per year. Most of them children. Geez, and if it's a poisoning, it's A, B, C, D, E. I don't know. So if you can find somebody with a brain cell that could stop it, it's like the press. I've been interviewed by the press at the legislature for 20 minutes and they won't publish it. You know?
Where are you calling from, Gary?
Toronto. Yeah, Toronto. I used to work downtown. I moved to Toronto in 2010. I was a first responder downtown east side Vancouver. And we all know what to do out there. You don't have naloxone, oxygen only. Anyway. I know I don't know what's wrong with it. It could happen to her. An injury or illness puts her comatose. And people that have been trained are eagerly giving you chest compressions because they, in the belief they're saving your life. They're eagerly doing it. Of course they are. I don't know. You can look all the information up on my Twitter. I've got pinned on my Twitter the phone call to the Ministry of Health. Anyway. At Gary CPR, Gary CPR. Yeah, there's a phone call to the Minister of Health. And the only politicians that I've known have said anything was Mayor John Tory and the acting medical officer of health back in 2016 at a press conference. Both of them said rescue breathing is the most important part. John Tory, his quote was, "This is causing people to lose their lives," quite literally. Anyway. Yeah. Thanks for listening. At Gary CPR, it's all up there. There's there's an article I was published in Emergency Medicine News right there too. With the hyperlinks to their training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah. And your name again was?
I'm Michelle.
Michelle. Okay, Michelle, you have a great day.
Thank you, Gary.
Bye-bye. Ours the Poison Control Center. They know better. They know better. Why do you want to do that? I don't know. Download from the Ontario Poison Center. They keep changing it, and they know what they do. It's in the Old and New Testament. It's just plain common sense. Breathing emergency. Give them air. Anyway, you're being mass murdered. Your tax dollars going around teaching millions of people how to kill everyone with any breathing emergency. Dr. Margaret Thompson down here. Crazy as a loon. Getting herself killed. Family members. Deny you're being mass murdered makes you physically and emotionally ill. Just like Nazi Germany. Same thing happened. Oh, don't say nothing. They're murdering everyone.